Okay, so in this video, we're going to take a look at how we can use probability to find totals. So for this first question, we have that in a box there are only red pens, blue pens, and green pens. A pen is taken at random from the box. The table shows the probabilities that the pen will be red, blue, or green. And we can see from the table, at the minute, we only have the probability of red, which is 0.4. The probability that the pen is blue is 3 times the probability that the pen is green. There are 24 red pens in the box. How many blue pens are in the box? So to begin this question, we want to complete our table of probabilities. So we can see in the question it says that the probability that the pen is blue is 3 times the probability that the pen is green. So we could solve this question using ratio, and we've gone over that in a previous video. So if you want to check that video out, I'll leave a link for it in the description, and I'll also put a card in the top corner. But today for this question, we're going to solve it using algebra instead. So looking back at what we're told, the probability that the pen is blue is 3 times the probability that the pen is green. So for the probability of green, I'm just going to give it the expression x, and the probability of blue is 3 times the probability of green, so it's going to be 3 times x, which just gives us 3x. So now we've given the probabilities of blue and green an expression, we can now solve this because we can create an equation. We know that all probabilities must always add up to 1, so that means if I add this 0.4 with our 3x and this x, that must all add up to 1. So now we can collect like terms. So we'd have 0.4, we've got 3x plus x, well, that's going to give us 4x is still equal to 1. So now we're just going to rearrange this equation. We have 0.4 plus 4x is equal to 1. So I'm going to leave the 4x where it is. So to get rid of this 0.4, I'm simply going to take it away from this side. So to balance the equation, I've got to do exactly the same to the right-hand side. So that 0.4 is now gone, so I'm just left with 4x on the left-hand side is equal to, well, we've got 1 take away 0.4. That's going to leave us with 0.6. So now to get x, we've currently got 4x, which is 4 times x. So to do the opposite of times by 4, we have to divide by 4. So we're going to divide the left-hand side by 4, which means we're going to divide the right-hand side by 4. So 4x divided by 4 is going to give us our x. And then on the right-hand side, if we do 0.6 divided by 4, that's going to give us 0.15. So we can now go back to our probability table and fill it in. So our probability for green was x, and we've just figured out x to be 0.15, so the probability for green would be 0.15. And then the probability for blue was 3x, so we'd have to do 3 multiplied by 0.15, and that's going to give us 0.45. So now we've got all our probabilities filled in. So for the last part of the question, we've got that there are 24 red pens in the box. How many blue pens are in the box? So what we need to do now is figure out how many pens there are in total. So we're told that there are 24 red pens in the box, so we can use this to find the total. And the way we're going to do that is by expressing the probability of picking a red pen as a fraction. So to find the probability of picking a red pen as a fraction, all we would need to do is pick the amount of red pens there are, which we're told in the question is 24, and we put that out of the total. Well, the total we don't yet know, so I'm just going to put n. So we know that the probability of picking a red pen is 24 over the total, over n. But we're also told in the question that the probability of red from the probability table is 0.4. So if the probability of red is 24 over n, and the probability of red is also 0.4, that must mean that these two things are equal. So 24 over n is equal to 0.4. And now we've created an equation we want to solve for n because we want to figure out that total. So to begin with, I've got 24 divided by n. So what I'm going to do first is multiply both sides by n. So that will get rid of the fraction on the left-hand side. So we're left with 24 is equal to, and then we'd have 0.4 times n. Well, that's just going to be 0.4 n. So because we're looking to solve for n, on the right-hand side, we've got 0.4 multiplied by n. So we just want to divide by 0.4 on the right hand side, which means we've got to do the same to the left hand side. So if we do 0.4n divided by 0.4, that's just going to leave us with n. And if we do 24 divided by 0.4, that's going to give us 60. So we know that there are 60 pens in total in the box. So now that we have our total, to find how many blue pens there are in the box, all we're going to do is simply take the probability for blue, which we know is 0.45, and we're going to multiply that by the total number of pens in the box, which we've just figured out to be 60. And if we do 0.45 multiplied by 60, that's going to give us 27. So there are 27 blue pens in the box. And that would be the answer to our question. So let's take a look at one more practice question. So feel free to pause the video here and have a go at this question, and we'll go through the solution in just a few moments. Okay, for this question we have the inner box there are only red pens, blue pens, green pens, and yellow pens. A pen is taken at random from the box. The table shows the probabilities that a pen will be red, blue, green, or yellow. We then have the probability table with the probability of green being 0.35 and the probability of yellow being 0.2. The probability that the pen is red is twice the probability that the pen is blue. There are 21 green pens in the box. How many red pens are there in the box? So similarly, just like before, when we see a probability table, we want to first fill in the probabilities for the values that we yet don't know. So for this question, we're told that the probability that the pen is red is twice the probability that the pen is blue. So again, just like before, we're going to use algebra and give an expression as the probability. So if the red is twice as likely as the blue, we're going to say that the probability of blue is x, meaning that the probability of red being twice as much would be 2x. So now we can complete our table, because all probabilities must add up to 1. So that means if we do 2x plus x plus 0.35 plus 0.2, that should all add up to equal 1. So now we can collect the like terms. Well, we've got 2x plus x. Well, that's going to give us 3x. We've then got 0.35 plus 0.2. Well, that's going to give us 0.55 is equal to 1. So now we can rearrange and solve. So we have 3x plus 0.55 is equal to 1. So to begin with, I'm going to get rid of this 0.55 by doing the opposite. I'm going to take it away. So if I take away 0.55 on the left-hand side, I must also do it to the right to balance the equation. So I'm going to have 3x on the left-hand side is equal to 1 take away 0.55 is going to leave us with 0.45. So we now have 3x. We want just x. So because I've got 3 times x, I now want to divide by 3 on the left-hand side, which means I'm going to divide by 3 on the right. So 3x divided by 3 is going to give us x. And then if we do 0.45 divided by 3, that's going to give us 0.15. So now we've solved for x, we can substitute this back into our probability table. So the probability of blue was x, so we know that is just 0.15. And then the probability for red was 2x, so we do 2 times x, which means we're going to do 2 times 0.15, which is 0.3. So that would be our probability for red. So again, our table all adds up to 1, and the probability for red is twice the probability for blue. So we're now looking at the final bit of the question. It says that there are 21 green pens in the box. How many red pens are there in the box? So to find out how many red pens there are, first of all, we need to find how many pens there are in total. So we've been given the amount of green pens there are. So what we can do is find the probability of picking a green pen as a fraction. So to find the probability of picking a green pen, we'd simply do the number of green pens, which is 21, over the total, which is what we're trying to figure out. So we're just going to call that n. So the probability of picking a green pen is 21 over n. But we're also told from the table that the probability of picking a green pen is 0.35. So because the probability of picking a green pen is both 21 over n and 0.35, that must mean that these two things are equal. So 21 divided by n must be equal to 0.35. So now we want to rearrange and solve for n. Well, on the left-hand side, we've got 21 divided by n. We're going to get rid of that divided by n by multiplying by n. So if I do that on the left, I've got to do it to the right. So on the left-hand side, I'll be left with 21 is equal to, and then on the right-hand side, I have 0.35 multiplied by n. So that's just going to be 0.35n. So now I want n on its own. So I've got 0.35 multiplied by n. So to do the opposite of that, I'm going to divide by 0.35, which means I must also do it to the left-hand side. So if we do 0.35n divided by 0.35, that's just going to leave us with n. And then if we do 21 divided by 0.35, that's going to leave us with 60. So there are 60 pens in total in the box. So now that we've figured out the total, we can find out how many red pens there are. So to find out the amount of red pens, we're just going to take the probability of picking a red pen, which from the table is 0.3, and we're going to multiply that by the total number of pens in the box, which we've just figured out to be 60. So if we do 0.3 multiplied by 60, that's going to give us 18. So there are 18 red pens in the box. So well done if you followed along with these questions. And that's it for this video. If you want to check out any other videos on working with probability, then I'll leave some links for them down in the description, and I'll also put a card in the top corner, so feel free to check them out. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and consider subscribing. If there are any topics at all you'd like me to go through next, then please just let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to make some videos on those topics as soon as possible. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.